You're listening to the Wedding Biz Network, the voice of the creative entrepreneur. Hey everyone, it's Andy Kushner with The Wedding Biz, a podcast that provides both education and inspiration for those of us in or interested in the wedding and event industry. And I'm so excited because I'm going with my wife today to New York City to visit my daughter, her boyfriend, and her boyfriend's parents. This is a first. This is definitely a first. So we're going to have a great time in the city. Anyway, if you missed last week's episode, it was with planner designer Augusta Cole. Really great interview. Be sure to check it out. And today's guest is Julie Novack, the CEO and co-founder of PartySlate, a photo-rich website that connects people who are planning events of all kinds with leading event planners, venues, and vendors. With over 20 years of digital marketing experience with some of the biggest brands in the world, Julie has brought all of her expertise to the event industry, and since founding PartySlate in 2016, over 20,000 of the country's top event professionals and venues have uploaded over 1 million event photos to best-in-class, beautiful, content-rich profiles. Julie always gives a great interview full of great reflection, tips, and advice. This one does not disappoint. Enjoy my conversation with Julie Novack. Julie, it is good to have you back on the show again. I mean, here we are in the middle of summer, and you're in the middle of a heat wave, aren't you, in Arizona?
No, in Chicago.
I mean, Chicago. Oh, then you don't have a heat wave.
Heat wave in Chicago is about 90, 95, so crazy.
Well, that's opposite from winter. At least you get some good break from that. That's great.
Absolutely.
So, I was thinking I had re-released your first interview because it was so good. I wanted to put it out again. And for everyone listening, it's episode number 415. It was just recently. And I remember during it that you had said you had worked on the business plan for PartySlate for 3 years, but I don't remember what year you actually started the company. When was that?
So we just celebrated our 7-year anniversary. So really 2015 is when I quit my job, and 2016 is really when we launched the first version of PartySlate.com.
God, that's incredible. Well, and before that, I mean, you've been working for a long time, like I have. So here's what I wonder. I mean, we all work so hard in this industry. And I know with you and you've got investors, venture capitalists, you have so much responsibility on your shoulders. You're giving everything you have. I am too. And for so long, do you ever feel burnt out? Like this seems to be a conversation so many of us are having lately because from the pandemic, to kind of rethink what we're doing. How are you feeling about that?
So I guess because I love this industry so much, and I feel like I did have, a good year and a half without traveling from the pandemic. And there was a lot of silver linings of, cooking and more family dinners and, walking the dog and just a slower pace. I was kind of excited to get back out there. And so I do feel that we all needed time to recharge, and we needed time to be more introspective, whether it's about our businesses, what we want to do, how you want to prioritize. But I think at this point, I'm just so excited to be back out with our community. We have 22 events scheduled for PartySlate just this year. And a lot of it is a backload of events that we had to cancel because of the pandemic, but also this insatiable appetite for the industry to come back together and to network and to rebuild relationships. So that's been really good for PartySlate, and I think for the community as well.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that. I mean, I kind of waver between the two. I mean, you make a good point. Before the pandemic, I was feeling like, wow, if I only had a break. Now, I didn't want that kind of a break.
Yeah, me neither.
No, but it was re-energizing. And I guess coming back to it now, I do feel revitalized, though at the same time, I'm burnt out on certain aspects of it, like especially the administrative side. Yeah, and I want to figure out how can I offload it or be more efficient. And I'm just more laser focused since coming back from the pandemic, Yeah.
And I will say on the administrative stuff that it is not my strength. And I think surrounding yourself with people that are good at the details and the billing and the invoicing and the proposals, it's really an important time to think about as the industry is so busy. how can you scale yourself so that you don't get burnt out? And I know it does, do I want to pay for an assistant? Well, we finally hired a people coordinator who's a part-time assistant to me. And I can't tell you the relief that it's given me on when a venture capital wants to meet and it's trying to triangulate on a time and calendar management and even some help on travel. It's not a full-time assistant, but even having someone like 20% helping me has really given me a lot of relief. And so I know people are worried about spending and, could recession be coming? And there's a lot of things people need to think about. But in order to really scale your business and give yourself some quality of life, I do think you need to think about how you can delegate more and give people what I like to say a leadership opportunity to take some things off your plate.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I know people have also talked a lot about virtual assistants. Have you ever considered something like that?
I haven't used someone like that, but I think working through Zoom and so many people being distributed, we have an office and I'm in the office today, but I'm probably here only 2 days a week and traveling or working from my home office. But you almost get used to working with people in a virtual way since the pandemic. So I'm very pro anything that can help you use your time more efficiently and on the things that you really enjoy, the things you're really good at. And so I'm glad you mentioned the administrative side because I do think sometimes we take on too much of the details, myself included, and then we do get burnt out on even the stuff we love to do.
Right. That's a good perspective. Also a few minutes ago, you mentioned, people are worried about a recession. What is your take on that? I mean, you've got such an incredible perspective business-wise with your experience. What do you think about a recession coming?
So even though I was an economics major at Michigan, I can't predict the future, but we see what's happening in the market and you see signals overseas and other things. And it does feel that we're, getting into a time of recession or, a bear market that will impact spending on events. But here's the thing I'm optimistic about. One, we've seen even from the pandemic that weddings and social events will continue, that people need to be together. They have budgets set aside. They want to celebrate those milestone events. And then two, with this new way of working, I think corporate events are going to be even more important to bring companies together because sometimes they've gotten rid of their office space. They have people all over the country, or they have people working from their homes or in a hybrid kind of way that's very, very different than before the pandemic. Events are really important to bring companies and cultures together. And so even if we are going to be going through this down period, I think the events industry will not be impacted in the way maybe a 2008 when it hit us.
Well, I was about to ask you what you suggest event professionals do to prepare and protect themselves. And I think one of the answers is diversify in terms of the type of events, right? Like if you're heavy in weddings, really try hard to get some headway into the corporate market and vice versa.
Yes. I will also say that for event professionals that are so busy and they're, a fire hose is hitting them, they have so many leads. When there's a time of plenty, it can be followed by a time of, wow, I wish I would have been more present and marketed a little more. So even the event professionals, I'm booked for 2 years. Well, you still need to have a strong digital presence. You still need to be part of the social media conversation. You still need to be out there. You can't just turn off your marketing. And when a recession hits, that's the time that you're going to be happy that you've kept your name out there because it won't be a time of plenty. And if everyone's competing for the same high quality leads or high quality inquiries, you're going to want to be part of that conversation and you're going to want to invest in your digital footprint. And again, not just PartySlate. Yeah, of course, I'm biased. Your PartySlate profile is your archive and your portfolio of all your great work, also help you build your business, but also, again, social media. I know some people are like, I just don't have time for social media. I just think it's really important to always have a cadence of sharing new content, being part of the conversation.
Well, and I want to tell people who are listening here, since, we're talking about that now may be more important than ever to dive in or to expand our presence, our digital footprint, that it was episode 373 on this podcast that you talked exclusively about how listeners can optimize their digital footprint. So I recommend everyone go back, and including me, I need to go back and listen to that episode. But before we move on from that, even though we talked so much about it, just for now, this conversation, what would you say for people who are, for some reason, resistant to doing this? Julie, what's, I don't know, one or two of the main first steps that people should consider at this time?
Yeah, I think if you are one of those people, and I just presented at a DJ conference, like top DJs in the country, and I had someone kind of shyly raise the hand and say, what would you suggest? It's not for me, but for a friend who is just too
right.
overwhelmed to get started. Uh-huh. And I said, okay, well, I know it's not you. So for other people in the room that have that question, number one, your website must be a representation of your brand and who you are as a company. I would much rather see a one-page, beautiful website that represents who you are, a strong handshake, an easy way to contact you, some beautiful photos, than a 1980s website. I'm exaggerating, but like a dated website that really makes you look stodgy, old, and I can't picture working with this band, or I can't picture working with this planner. So I think you got to really think about if your website's dated, either think about a facelift, you can get some contractors to help you, or kind of a refresh, use a Squarespace, a modern template that's really, really simple. And I have like 3 whole webinars that are recorded free on website optimization that can really help you. And I can give you those links for the show notes. But I think that's number one. And then number 2 is, third-party platforms like PartySlate or other wedding only, corporate only, Yelp, things like that. You just have to prioritize what are 1 or 2 platforms I want to invest in. They could be a free profile. You don't have to pay any money for it, but that you really put your best foot forward, so to speak, on what kind of company you are. Because third-party platforms like PartySlate were the ones that end up page 1, top event planners in Chicago, top event planners in New York, or top things like that. So we're going to be page 1 of Google. So we're going to get a lot more traffic than you could get as an individual company. And so you kind of have to be, pick and choose of the 20 platforms out there. What are 2 or 3 that you at least want to have a great free profile on?
Yeah. Many of our past guests, including Brian Raffinelli, CeCe Johnson, Colin Cowie, and Lynn Easton, all use PartySlate to showcase their event work and build their businesses. And if you're not familiar with PartySlate, it's a website that inspires people planning events and connects them with the leading event professionals and venues across the country and the world. This is a really, really great website. You can sign up for a free profile where you can upload unlimited photos and events, or you can explore one of their membership options for even more exposure. And PartySlate has launched in 11 cities so far, including Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, Dallas, and Miami, and they are coming to a city near you soon. Visit partyslate.com to learn more. Again, you really got to check out partyslate.com. This is also obviously related to how can we best differentiate our brand. Right? The market is so saturated. Are there any other ways beyond digital footprint that people can, because you see it all, through PartySlate?
The other thing is just events. I think this is the most networked industry I've ever seen or worked in over my 25 plus years working, probably closer to 30, but that makes me feel old. But, the network is huge. You could go to a party, reconnect with someone and get a $20,000, $30,000 or more deal the following week. Like, oh, I thought of you for this event. So this is not, yes, you have your frienders. Yes, you love the industry. We're all creative. We're all fun. But this is real business building opportunity to be present at these networking events. So I'm on the international board of WIPA. The WIPA events across the country are great. PartySlate now is including our events in our membership packages because they've become so popular. We can't host everyone literally because they're sold out, so to speak, even though they're free events. And so what we've started doing is, as part of our packages, hey, you can come up to 5 events a year, 3 events a year, et cetera, as part of our value add. But I think these industry events next to social media, next to your website, again, I'm a digital person, are really critical to build your business and build your brand.
Geez, Are you finding though that even though, COVID seems to be waning, are people showing up at these events?
Oh, yeah. So we're having an event in New York next week. We have 550 people.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So, I mean, our LA event, which was like an old Hollywood theme, which was absolutely incredible at the W Hollywood, we had 400 people. And so, again, I know COVID is still there, but I think with vaccine, with therapeutics, with the death rate, hate to be morbid, so low, we're not seeing spikes in that it's become more of an endemic. And to be honest, everyone I know, including myself, has had it in the last 3 months. I mean, I got it for the first time, 5, 6 weeks ago. And, of course, it's still dangerous. It's very scary. But at this point, if you're vaccinated and if you're older, and, I think plus 65, you have therapeutic or pills you can take.
That's right.
That help. That's a big difference from where we were a year ago.
That's a really good point. Also, I know, obviously with PartySlate, your focus has been to highlight the design work of event industry professionals. What are you seeing overall now with event design? I mean, any new trends of any kind that you can identify?
Some of the things we're excited about is, really in addition to, of course, floral and decor that you would think of at a traditional event, we're seeing a lot more interesting use of lighting, really incredible, projection mapping. There's a venue called the Temple House in Miami that we've worked with that can literally transform the whole space with just projection mapping. And it's just such a wow for your guests that over the whole evening, it can transform from a twilight event to a beautiful event overseas in Italy. Like I've just seen so many amazing things being done with that. And then I also think, because of the pandemic, more and more people, I know California, you've already done this, are really excited about outdoor experiences. Tented events, beautiful. We had a beautiful courtyard event at the Ritz San Francisco a few weeks ago, and they said they've never seen their courtyard transformed like we did for the San Francisco PartySlate event. So I think that trend of outdoor events may continue because of the pandemic. I know in certain places like Chicago, it's really hard
right.
because it's cold most of the year. But I think people are getting creative with how you can do tented events that are still have that outdoor airy feeling, even in the fall and the spring.
Also, I remember, again, I'm thinking back to our earlier interviews, and I remember, because this really stuck with me, you talked about the importance of dreaming out loud, as you put it.
Yes.
What are you dreaming about now?
I really started thinking about what PartySlate looks like as a global company.
Oh, and you talked about that too, that was one of your goals, is really global expansion.
Yeah, and we have profiles all over the world. We have premium members in London and Paris, very few because we haven't made a launch of it. But as it becomes clearer how we can kind of dominate and really become the premier event inspiration platform and connections with people planning events to the great local event professionals, I really see how North America is taking shape over the next 2 years. We have a roadmap. We know what cities we're going to. We're having planning an incredible event in Aspen, as an example, in November. So we kind of have this view of what North America looks like, and we have a lot of growing we need to do here. But I'm starting to see, and it's becoming more attainable, how we could expand this worldwide as we become better known as a brand. And so I wouldn't say we're doing active things this year, but as we put together more efficient playbooks, how we launch in Colorado, how we have a whole city playbook, how we warm up the city, how we assign an account executive, all these things are really how we scale quickly. I am dreaming a lot about what Paris will look like, and London and India, things like that. So that's something exciting for us to think about post Series B, which is our next funding round that we'll be raising early next year.
It's so exciting. And I think you're going to go all the way with this. I really wish you the best.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Before I go, I wanted to ask, I think you used to do, and I wonder if you still do consultations or coaching. I mean,
Yes.
My God, there's so much to get from you, Julie. I mean, what do you offer? How can people reach you?
What we did is we really felt that giving back to the industry it, pay it forward by giving back to the industry. I've made it my mission to make this industry better digital marketers and less intimidated and more confident on what they can do to make a stronger digital footprint. Of course, PartySlate's part of it, but what I've been doing is doing free website reviews, Instagram reviews, even LinkedIn. I'm very passionate about LinkedIn. I know it sounds geeky, but LinkedIn is important. Spend 1 hour to make sure your LinkedIn profile looks good. And so we launched just partyslate.com/review, WEVIEW, I can spell it. We will review your website, your Instagram, your PartySlate profile if you have one, or we can get a free one started for you. Just go on there and you can fill in your name and your email and just click one of the boxes, whether you want website or a social review. And then we'll reach out to you and schedule just a 15-minute Zoom and help you with that.
That's amazing. Okay.
I know. And I do about like 4 or 5 of these a week. And everyone's like, oh, how do you make time for this? Well, I think it is good because I think if you put it out there that you want to help, which we really do want to help, they tell other people about it. And people learn about PartySlate and there's some goodwill and some brand equity built. And we really enjoy helping the industry. And we also know we have a really smart but busy industry. And so we can give you some tools and tips to shortcut your thinking and to make it a little bit easier. That makes us feel really good that we're helping the industry, especially coming out of this pandemic that's been so tough for everyone.
Yeah. Well, I want to make sure to put this in the show notes and for people to really check this out. I mean, I'm actually, while you're talking, I'm making a note. I have a meeting with my business partner Thursday, and I'm like making a note to tell him about this.
Yes. I mean, we are happy to do it. And I believe like kind of the tough love, the truth about what you need to do is important. I don't sugarcoat things. And I'm like, I'll tell you like, hey, you just need a facelift or you need a rebuild. And if you need a rebuild, just do 1 single page or 3 pages. And this is the template you could use. I really, or I'll introduce you to people. We don't build websites. We do the PartySlate profiles and we'll manage your photo uploads and do all that. But I also know a lot of people in the industry that I can recommend.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, God, this has been, an incredible catch-up session that we've just had. I always enjoy talking to you, Julie. I think what you're doing is amazing. I really want to encourage everybody, if you're not aware, and how can you not be, but if you're not aware totally of what Julie and PartySlate does, go to partyslate.com, right? Are there any other links that people should go to? That's really the main one.
Yeah, partyslate.com/pro. You can register for a free profile and we'll help you get it started if you need the help. And then also our Instagram is very, very popular, highly engaged by the industry. And that's just @PartySlate on Instagram. And then I actually have a social media intern helping me talk about delegation on my personal PartySlate, which is more of a B2B kind of industry feed. So I'm just @Julie PartySlate. And I announce a lot of our events, our webinars. We're doing a great webinar on TikToks and Reels. We're always doing kind of how can we give back to the industry and teach to help make people's lives just a little bit easier.
Yeah, cool. Well, look, thank you for taking the time here in such a busy day, and I'm going to keep having you on periodically. So I appreciate it.
Well, I'm a huge fan. When people enter the industry or people on my team, new people to the industry, I always tell them to subscribe to your podcast because you have the best guests. You ask the best questions. I feel like you're like the 60 Minutes for the event industry.
Thanks.
You really do get into great conversations. I've learned a lot.
Thanks. Well, I really enjoy it. So, well, cool. All right. Well, thanks. And we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to my conversation with Julie Novack. Be sure to check out the website, which is partyslate.com. And if you would like to sign up for a free website or Instagram review, go to partyslate.com/review. And if you want to get a free PartySlate profile, go to partyslate.com/pro. And if you could think of 3 good friends who you feel would benefit from this incredible conversation with Julie, please forward it to them. We'd really appreciate that. And next week's guest is going to be Stephanie Cole of Cole Drake Events. And finally, if you haven't yet subscribed to the podcast, The Wedding Biz, please do so that you know whenever a new episode drops. And we'll catch you next week. Thanks.